And welcome back to another episode of Lead Stronger Longer. I'm Stefana Johnson, and today's episode is definitely not your average leadership conversation. I'm joined again by Will Keller, and we're going to deep dive into the uncomfortable truth. It is so easy to point fingers at corruption, at the system, at others, but what's far more powerful and far more difficult is to confront our own comfort, fear, silent compliance, complacency. We could name a few other things, but we're unpacking the real internal war between the part of you that craves freedom and the part of you that clings to that comfort, that familiarity. This is about radical self honesty. I have been really working hard on that one. It's about natural law, and it's about what it means to truly lead yourself first so that you can create real impact in the world, positive impact in the world. So, if you are ready to stop feeding a broken system and start aligning with truth, let's dive in. I'm so excited to have you with me again, Will. Thank you for being here. What do you think about that intro?
Fantastic. Well, first, it's a pleasure to see you again and to be here and to connect. I would say that your intro and some of the points that you hit on is a vital and critical and central focus that people really need to consider, especially nowadays, where I would say the majority of people would hear your intro and they almost don't take that time and care to apply it to themselves. Meaning, to simplify, a lot of people think they have done the work, they think they're at a certain level, but yet their deeds, actions, and they're in a very, very different place. And of course, that's an ongoing process, but it's the one that can stop, drop, and look and think and consider that's going to always be applying that self-reflection and, like you said, radical honesty.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have found, and this is something that I'm going to do a live on and share with you all what I've been doing for the past month and really even the past 4 or 5 months. Things happen in our lives that can either make us or break us. And when I say make us or break us, they literally can shift and be a catalyst to your next best version of yourself, or they can completely destroy you. And I think that we can look at uh, anyone around us that we're close to and see where folks have let something completely destroy them or lock them down. And it usually stems from fear of not confronting what's really going on, not confronting the truth. And I think that that is the key to anyone who is interested in this, any of these concepts of sovereignty, of natural law, which again, natural law is you showing up fully as yourself whole and telling the truth and leading your own thoughts and leading your own emotions and actions and not being a slave. Uh, um, and when I say that, to define the slave, I don't even need to go into that because anyone who's listening to these episodes with you as my guest would already have some kind of understanding of what we've been talking about. And this is the hard work. This is the deep work. This is the transformation that is so fundamental to what we each have to do now to start leading a better world. And it's only going to come from those who are willing to take full, radical personal responsibility and be so honest with yourself. And the thing that got me was that I was almost brutally not honest, but instead I was telling an old story, an old program of lack of worthiness. And so I was having to work even harder. And those are things you have to confront as well. And to me, this is not something that's segregated to just this person or Every one of us is going to have to do it. And there isn't 10,000 people that need to become a certain level in order for the next breakthrough to happen. Nope. It is absolutely each one of us, because we're all part of the whole. And it, it's, I'm seeing that now, that this idea where I had like, oh, well, I can't affect or impact someone who doesn't want my help. And while that may or may not be true, that's something to be unpacked further. And if I really look at the truth of that, bottom line is I'm impacting anyone and everyone I come in contact with by how I show up. And if I'm not showing up fully, activating my fullest potential, actualizing truly am. And the only way to do that is to lead yourself, have them be fully in alignment. And it starts with telling radical truth to yourself. Then this whole ripple effect that I feel that every leader needs to step into is just getting confused, and it's almost like this facade of leadership. And I want no part of that anymore, because I think you said it in the last episode that we had. You were talking about, maybe it was the episode before, where you were talking about how there will absolutely be it's not comeuppance, but the accountability. And it may not be in this life, but as parents, as mothers and fathers of those that we are bringing up and raising, we're creating that future. They're going to create that future, and we will face that. We ourselves, it's not like it's just going to disappear. We are going to face that. This body doesn't just die. That whole thing that you were talking about, that's another conversation. But those are the things that I've been thinking about for the past month, and really understanding, not just thinking about, really deeply contemplating on it as I traveled across the country and have seen the walks of life, and the suffering and the ignorance and ignoring that goes on. And that's really, it's hard. And this idea of me wanting to be compassionate for someone who is, well, you have to, in Scientology, it used to be grant them beingness to be who they are, even if that means they're accountable, even if that means they're harming another. And that's BS. That's BS. If someone's hair is on fire, I'm going to frickin' put it out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so all of this is just churning within me in a way that I have to start being honest with myself and see where I have not been fully standing up to who and what I'm here to do, who I really am. And I still don't know. I still don't have those answers fully. I still have to wake up and look in the mirror and see what's going on. So Will, because you are clearly an advocate of this way of life, of speaking the truth and really doing the work. What are those steps? How do we take them? How do we navigate that? And if we were to, what does that look like in a day-to-day life? What could that look like in our world? Can you just like paint that beautiful picture and all the little pitfalls along the way?
I don't know how beautiful it is, because it's often a pretty brutal journey. You could see the beauty in that, right? This is like the whole process of the alchemical internal process of breaking the substance, the prima materium, which is the human being itself. It is you. Breaking that down, destroying, killing a level of awareness, who you were, removing those impurities and rebuilding yourself back up to anew. So that's a brutal process. It's both. It's beautiful. It's enlightening, when you can gain information and knowledge and you can apply it to yourself that allows you to function better, right? I mean, we're not victims. That's the problem. Most people are comfortable and they settle in that victim mentality because that's the easy, lazy, and cowardice way to go.
But
right?
are they really comfort? Are they really comfortable? I see the deep suffering and the masking of it, whether it's,
True.
you name whatever the vice is, and they're suffering. And I look at, I remember being in that, wanting to be comfortable, and there I still have a couple things, like I'll go watch a movie, and that's sometimes where I can just, okay, that I'm going to go watch a movie because I know
Sure.
what I'm doing. I'm going and, right, intentionally doing that. But I would say that's my number one, or a book, going and just immersing myself in a book, because that's my, uh, I'll say escape. If I really am honest with those, sometimes those are my escapes. But I realize that those that are the victims, really, they're it's almost like they're punishing themselves,
Hmm.
because it's not, it's how do we communicate that that's not more comfortable. It's just not. It's just, now it's easier. It's, you know, how do we
I
communicate that? And for children as well, how do we say that to let them know this quick pain relief is because you don't want to confront something or confront the past or whatever. How do you deal with that? And you were on a great roll, so catching up on that. So let's do it.
And I agree with you on a lot of things. It is self-induced suffering, right? That's what suffering is. Really, even the word itself, it's a choice. You are making a choice whether you are conscious or unconscious of it. It is when pain accumulates and one is choosing consistent or continuous pain that it becomes suffering. And then the question arises, even using the trivia method, on why am I or is someone in this condition or state? They have not exposed the causes of their own psyche and of their own actions that are throwing them into this feedback loop of suffering. Now, pain itself absolutely is inherent to the natural world and to our experience. Pain can be great, it can be useful, it can be horrible, it's the whole gambit. When it comes to why I say that, victimhood is easy, it's a safety blanket for somebody, right? Somebody uses the victimhood, they use the excuse, which is the abdication of radical honesty and radical responsibility, regardless of the situation. I mean, look at the human condition of enslavement. That is deplorable, right? Now, and many people do this. They go, we're never going to win. We're never going to achieve freedom. No one's going to change. That's a victimhood mentality. Regardless if we actually can make progress or achieve true freedom in one's own lifetime, still, what do you do with that information? That's why it's an easy way. It's an abdication, because it's an excuse and a justification to just sit on your ass and not contribute. So we inherently are co-creators, not victims. The victimhood is a choice. It is a mask and a costume for someone to wear. It's like a turtle shell, so someone can recluse into their shell and not have to deal with responsibilities and accountabilities. So that, but the question is, why is it so predominant nowadays? And I can even see, even in the younger generations, there's an uptick in that. Really, it doesn't matter what generation. It's the full spectrum, right? Because even the older generations, oh, I'm too old for this stuff, I can't get involved, etc. Whether that's getting in shape, that's looking at oneself on a psychological, assessment, or whatever it may be. It is purely what it is, and that is an excuse and a justification. So the route that we need to go, and I call it radical responsibility as well, like you say, radical honesty, both of these things need to be accepted and understood why it must be like this. Now, this might make a lot of people upset. If you're in a situation where, and I don't, discard that there are real victims in the world. That absolutely 100% is there. I mean, being enslaved, you are a victim of ignorance and violence, but it's about what are you going to do forward. right? If that's your condition now, it doesn't have to be your condition tomorrow, the next day, the next week, month, years, or whatever that may be. So it's almost like a starting point, recognizing the problem at hand, and then taking the necessary steps and doing the work to move forward on that. I mean, energy is always going to be active. It's always moving. The question is, what direction are you going? So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think about some things that we haven't covered yet in our previous episodes, which are fantastic to go check out. But within our current human condition, I think one of the biggest things is having an accurate perception of what is going on and what that means for someone. Right? We are enslaved in this condition, but that does not mean that you can't be happy, you can't be content, you can't have self-development, you can't have financial freedom, right? So you have an ample of resources, right? All of this stuff is put in the system, and the system is designed to, with the traps and snares, to stay in that victim mentality, right? Oh, well, I don't like to use money because it's the fiat banking system and, it's immoral system, etc., right? That is an imbalance of thinking. It's one thing to recognize what it is and what it's being used for, but what it represents and what you can do with it is something totally different. I'm using, obviously, money as the example. So, same thing as health with food. Obviously, that is a major issue, and it's a major tactic that the social engineers use to keep people in the sick care system. But yet there are ethical pathways available. It takes a lot more work to find those and implement those. But for the victim, it's easy to just go down to the basic grocery store to grab what is cheap, to do fast food, etc., etc. So what we are talking about is a lifestyle, is a day-to-day type of thinking and mindset to not feed into the parasitical mind virus of victimhood. This is what we're talking about, and it is a day-to-day practice. And I'm not talking about having a little bit of escapism, some downtime, some R&R, some care, whether that be movies, books, gaming, a weekend away, a vacation. That's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about the accumulative actions and deeds of your life, your choices. And the sum of those choices equals the condition of your life thus far. So, and feel free to jump in anytime if you want me to clarify. So we need to understand, obviously, freedom itself on the individual level and on the aggregate level. It is earned, maintained, and kept through morality. Now, sure, there's some gray areas there. How can someone be fully inlined in a system of slavery? And it's like, hey, yeah, that's the catch. That's why we are in a condition of slavery, is that it is stunting, it's retarding individuals on their soul path to become who they are destined to become, or who they choose to become, right? Those are the roadblocks that are there. But yet you still can choose morality, you can choose right action, you can do the right thing on your day-to-day basis and within your life 100%. And that's what people need to strive for. Absolutely. So yeah, it's not a desire, right? It's a consequence of moral alignment.
So just to be clear, what's
Sure.
not a desire?
Freedom itself.
Freedom itself is not a desire?
Correct. It is not a desire. It's a consequence of moral alignment, meaning it's an effect of choices. It's an effect of right action. You know how many people, especially in the freedom truth community, that desire freedom but don't do a damn thing to actually support, promote, or co-create that which they say they want?
Okay,
the
this is
majority of
really
them.
interesting. Okay.
Absolutely.
I
And that goes
definitely
for
I want to
everything, not just freedom, right? People say they want all kinds of things.
right. But what actions? Okay, you're totally
Yes.
right. Just like when my son and I literally got rid of 80% of our belongings and bought the bus and then drove across, and
Yeah.
then as I posted that, there were a handful of people that said, "Oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that." And I'm saying, "Well, good, do that, do it, do it." And or my son actually even said this morning on a post that responded and said, "Well, why wouldn't they do it? Why would they? Why are they posting there? Why wouldn't they just go do it?"
Mm.
So that does make sense. And okay, I want to go back to a couple things. You said gray areas. Gray areas. I need to understand that a little bit more because I'm not a gray area girl. I'm a black or white girl. It's like it's all on or all off. Don't give me gray. And that's gotten me in trouble before because I don't play with all the different colors and like I don't know why. It's just like I need to know 100%. Maybe that's a control thing. Maybe that's like I think I'm not sure. I want you to unpack that for me, but I want to understand also these two concepts around uh, the game of life. And you talked about how this is essentially, you didn't say the hero's journey, but that's what I heard. And I want to understand within the context of the hero's journey, because that's something that I have used to make myself feel better and to help my clients. I will always use the concept of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, and you're in the belly of the well, or you're in the belly of the beast right now, or you're facing dragons right now. And this is life. This is what you do. You don't get stronger by sidestepping lizards. You face the dragons, right? That's what makes you stronger, and and that's life. That's the exciting part of life. And yet, right? So there's that. And I can say that, but honestly, I think I was saying it in a glib way because I learned it in my coaching program. And I'm like, yes, obstacles make me stronger and you can do this. Yeah, you got this. Bring it on, right? All of that. And then understanding within the game and then within the grand scheme of things, but then also knowing I don't want to be miserable. Uh, I thrive on joy and I focus on and bring to my world as much as I can things that bring me joy. And anyone I'm around, if I see something brings them joy, I will share or try and enhance that. From my sons to anyone, I will bring more of that into their lives because I want them to experience joy. And that's, I don't know if that's my Pollyanna, thing, but that's how I survive. Because I forget about it. I would like, I'm done. I'm out of here if my life has to be completely miserable. And I don't mean that, wow, yes, I see all the stuff, the suffering and all of that. But if I can even do one small thing, even if that's to go and pick up trash off the earth or go and make sure someone has a food tonight or has a right, those are the little things that I've made peace with myself. But is that compromising? And it's like this push and pull. Am I doing enough? I'm not doing it. Am I really getting strong? Or and but is that life? Is that the part of life? Is that the part of the ebb and flow of life that you're all in at some time and then you have to totally cocoon back in? These are the things that I find for myself because it is self-discovery. And I think everyone has to discover that for themselves because certainly not everybody's like me. And how does this work within this? I want to understand the gray areas and the game. In my mind, all of it is connected. Hopefully, you understood what my question was.
I did. Yeah. And I'm going to do them reverse. I'm talking about kind of the game. A huge impact on my childhood was playing RPGs, role playing games, primarily, fantasy, mystical based. I'm a little bit older. I'm in my mid 40s, so it was like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, those type of games. And I really resonated with those for many reasons. There's esoteric characteristics in there. There's occultism and mythology as well. But this is a great analogy of just life as well. Like this, and like you said, the hero's journey. We are all living, are experiencing an RPG, our role playing game. We are the character, we are the hero that's going through life, going through this journey. Just like an actual video game, there are parameters in the game, right? Those parameters are the boundary conditions by which the gaming company created their rules, and those parameters, you can't go outside those parameters. So in life, the analogy of the RPG, of the role-playing game, we are the hero, we are the character, right? Natural law is the boundary conditions, are the parameters. There are these rules. They are laws that apply to all of us that we must know and align ourselves with. Go on.
Okay. For some, but is it true that there is that social engineering, I guess, that's trying to override natural law? And that's why we're in the predicament that we're in.
There is no such thing to override natural law. Natural law is part of the absolute. It is. There is no going outside of natural law. Now, when I say, and someone says, violate natural law is immutable. You can do something moral. You can make a moral choice. You could help someone out. Natural law applies. That consequence is going to be positive, right? So that's what it's doing. It's dictating the consequences to generate the effect of our choices. So sure, the social engineers, they know they cannot override or abdicate natural law. So they are going to rule the planet as claimed gods, right? And enslave the whole planet as blasphemy towards the actual creator of the universe, natural law and nature. So yeah, they influence and they mind control and trick us into taking incorrect, immoral actions that generate a condition of slavery.
So let's stay with the game idea
Sure.
and the role-playing game. So then, who's the hero? Each person is the hero in their own life,
Correct.
except the victims because they're NPCs, or right? So am I going to look at my perspective from my life and then I go, oh, that's an NPC. That's just. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like, okay,
Sure.
that, and then as you're saying, okay, well, they're going to try. The social engineers will influence this game, but natural law is the boundaries. But the social engineers are trying to manipulate that. Where are they in this game?
So I want to take a step back because even Nemo dropped a quote in here, and I have a section on this. So the kind of the spiritual passivity and the blaming of the social engineers, blaming organizations and institutions, this is actually part of the problem. We need to understand that the social engineers are just the influencers. They are the shot callers. The people are the ones that are making the choices and actually performing the actions. So who is the real enemy here? The real enemy is your neighbor, your so-called friends, your community members, and everyone around you that does not understand right from wrong and is choosing wrong action, because they are the ones that are contributing to the system of slavery itself.
But are we responsible for their actions?
Absolutely not. We are not responsible for their actions. We have a responsibility to teach and to let them know, hey, you are acting immorally. You are contributing to the condition of suffering. Because we're not talking about, eating blueberry pie here. This is about freedom itself, freedom or slavery. And since we are in a shared reality, their choice on to support and condone and act immorally affects the whole. Right? If they like blueberry pie or not, doesn't affect me. I don't care. Doesn't affect the biosphere, the whole system. But to support a slave system, to support violence, absolutely contributes to the whole itself.
Okay, that's then the place where I get hung up, because what is my responsibility?
Your responsibility is what you are going to do about it.
So
You're only responsible for the actions that you choose, right? You're responsible for yourself. So, but with this knowledge of right and wrong and the knowledge of the dynamics to create change, and you have a clear, this is why being right is important in this context of what is going on in the world. See, when you ask that question to so many people, they go, oh, it's the Jews, it's, the New World Order, it's this, it's that, it's the aliens from interdimensional planes, it's the archons. They'll pin it on all this other stuff. They have a incorrect perception, when the correct answer is everyone does not understand right or wrong, and they are choosing the wrong actions. And and from those choices, it is generating a condition of slavery and suffering for everyone. They don't understand natural law. They don't understand objective morality. That is the accurate perception of what is going on in the world. And how do we change that? We change that by, as more people understand this information and they choose within their own life, within their own RPG, they choose the right choices, the moral ones, then we will start to see the condition of slavery diminish, freedom will start to increase, etc.
Okay, I love it. That helps. And I know you feel like I'm sure you're like, this, I have said this 50,000 times to Stefano. When is she going to get it?
Oh, no.
First, I want to say,
to reiterate that it is very important. I don't mind.
yeah, it really helps me a lot. And I see it in different layers as I go out and live life and try and apply this. I just want to give a shout out to Scott. Scott, it's great to see you. Thanks for the comments in the chat. And Nemo Jones, I haven't met you, but thank you so much for the comments. Russ in there.
What's up, Russ? What's up, Scott?
Russ. So I want to go back to the gray areas so I can understand this a little bit. At the end of the day, I have a routine, a habit of I think I got it from one of my whatever coaching, some program that I'd taken years ago, and have morphed it. But essentially, it's what have I done? How have I helped, right? Essentially, reflecting on that, what is still to be done. I think Benjamin Franklin did it, or I can't remember. Sorry, guys, I don't remember that. But I'm reflecting always on those two questions. And then in that question of what is still to be done, it's I can't leave that without a very clear, this is the next action, because it's too easy for me to go off on the rabbit holes, because I want to learn more. I want to go and study a little bit more on Passio, but I'm not ready for that again, right? I need to process the first 100, and be, how do I explain this? To deal with what's in me. And you mentioned this, blaming organizations, calling the shots on it's them, because I am trying to find, or there's a natural part of me that wants to find the source. Who's responsible? How do we get to the source of it? Let's find who's, like, that kind of thing. I don't want to keep putting out fires when there's something underneath that's creating the fires. But this is a much bigger job than me, and I can't do it all. And that, I think that's what I am coming to terms with. It's like, I can only do what I can do. And then that scares me, because I do feel like, oh my gosh, yes, Nemo, that idea of that vacuum. I do feel that energetic vacuum. Yeah. Interesting.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, Will, you're an amazing, I don't want to say therapist, because that's not what's happening here.
I'm just a friend.
Yeah. Yes, which I
just
love.
a guy over here talking.
mentoring and when you say things, it's just like boom, and then I have to go listen to the episode again and just listen to what you're saying to be able to understand this. What uh, how can we fill that vacuum? Because Nemo said it, and I feel like there has been a significant, like I'll get filled up with certain things and then I'll try and process it, but it does feel like this energetic vacuum of sometimes I'm sucking it all in and sometimes I'm blowing it all out, and I don't like, what is that?
Yes, yes. That is the realization of the degree of our condition. When your perception starts to become more accurate on what is truly going on in the world, that is brutal for someone, right? You start to see the vacuum, like Nemo said. You start to understand the work that is ahead of humanity and the work of within yourself as well. So this is the fact about what is going on in the world. This has been going on for thousands of years, right? So it's going to take us some time to get out of it. Letting go, and it's very common. I went through this, and sometimes I still go through this, right? You want to see that you want to make headway. You want to see that the efforts that you are doing are really influencing and affecting other people, let alone you want to see some type of change in the current human condition. So, but that is the healthy ego trying to intervene on that. Like, we want to see some headway before the end of our life cycle. That might not be the case. Actually, it will not be the case to achieve freedom in the human condition in the aggregate, right? And so we are doing this. What are the reasons why we are doing the one great work? Why are we trying to educate people on right and wrong and to activate and get onto the battlefield? Those are the type of questions that someone needs to ask themselves, right? And really apply some introspection. So, number one, simply because it is the right thing to do. Regardless if you don't see any change, even if it's negative change within your lifetime, to activate and to educate and to spread the information of natural law and right and wrong and what is going on in the world, that is radical responsibility. That is the right thing to do. And it is the moral thing to do, the just thing. So doing that right there is number one. Of course, I'm a father. I want to see some kind of change for my daughter as she grows up and my grandkids, etc. Right? So number one, it's just because of the truth that it must be done. Must be done. And then, of course, for the lives of children, animals, future humans, the planet itself comes right up there as well. So, but the hard pill to swallow is that this is a lifelong process and it will be brutal. That's why it is called the one great work. There's nothing greater than trying to tell people that they have a religion they believe in that is harming and violating the whole system of humanity and the planet, right? Who wants to hear that? What NPC or what normie truly wants to hear that without, being a recluse, without being that victim or having those excuses and justifications? So with that information that I said, this is why it is vital to continually do that internal work, right? To burn down those lies, to distill the self, and so you are grounded. Honestly, to be sane, right? I've seen people start this work, they go on for a little bit, then they throw the towel in, and I have never heard from them ever again. It's just like they tried, they didn't get what they wanted, and then they checked out. See, we need to understand that expectations are based in relativity. Expectations are the ego's way of is the ego trying to get its way, right? It's trying to construct reality into how it wants life to go. That's why expectations will always let you down. And that's the problem. A lot of people, even coming into this work, they have expectations. And those expectations let them down. It's like, then what do you do? Look, we're all going to have our bad days. We're all going to have our hard, difficult times in life. You know, could be a week, a month, 6 months, a year. We're all going to go through that for sure. The question is, what are you going to do about it? You got to pick your britches up. You got to pivot. You got to go through the steps and the work and bounce back. That's ultimately what it comes down to. It's like an addict, right? An addict doesn't say, "Oh, well, next week I'm going to hit my rock bottom." No, an addict heals themselves, then they look back and say, "That was my rock bottom last month." So, it's an ongoing process. Life itself is all about change, and the ultimate question is, how are you going to respond, which is responsibility, your ability to respond to what? To life, to an event, a daily event, to a task, to a relationship, to the truth.
Yeah. This is so spot on. And when you were talking about expectations, you were talking straight at me, because that is 100%. Everything you said is like, oh yes, that was my ego. That was,
Yes.
I had it all nicely in a nice little package, and we're going to do this and check this off the checklist, and I'm going to apply this, and this is how it's going to go. And that, I think that has been the greatest lesson. Is I had a bigger ego than I ever imagined. And, I like to say I'm kind of friends with my ego, because that identity, I like that part of Stefana who is here expressing. I'm really good friends with my body and my health, and that's super important to me. That's my ego, right? This identity and all of that. But then there's also that part that's those miasmas, the memes that play out, right? All of this that are inhibiting this next level of clearly what's coming through in this process for us. Anyone who's doing any of this great work for themselves, this shift that's happening, and it's powerful. You talked about
Yes.
accuracy, and when you were talking about accuracy and how to reject and all of that, can you just give a little bit more clarity on accuracy when we're doing this work?
In context to your perception.
Well, yeah, because that's, you brought that up specifically. You said
Mm-hmm.
we have the responsibility to teach and contributing. If we're not, we're contributing to the suffering, and the correct answer is that we have to do something. It's our actions, but they need to be more accurate. And I am all about accuracy. How?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Great question. So, having an accurate perception, right, is obviously perception itself is how one perceives the world, or perceives an event, or perceives themselves, right? This is based upon the information that we have and the information that we hold. So, we'll use this in kind of a self-diagnosis, or analyzing oneself. Like what Scott said in the chat, he asks his clients in therapy, was there an expectation there? See, expectations are also based on perception as well. So with expectations, you expect something. So there is a hope. You have a certain type of information that you hold or imagine the way something is going to play out, or the way that something is. So expectations and perception are tied together, right? They go hand in hand. So we can think we understand the root of the problem or the cause when it comes to ourselves or what is going on in reality, right? But we obviously, perception can waver. It can be up and down. You can be wrong. You can have an inaccurate perception. So if things aren't working out in life, in one's individual life, then the probability of your perception could be, widely inaccurate. Therefore, you need to gather more information. There's many ways to do this. Obviously, this is why I'm a big advocate on journaling and writing down daily functions and actions, not only just functions and what you did today, but how you felt. A thought process that was predominant, that stuck out to you. Like, write all those things, negative and positive. That way, over time, you can look at that information and you can develop patterns. So that will give you a more accurate perception of a cause or something that is going on within oneself. So that's what I mean by accurate. Okay, so
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, good, good. So that's the work. That's the inner work. And as for the next 15 minutes, what I want to do is finish up with specifically around leadership, because I'm an advocate for leaders. And when I say that, I've been around the self-help personal development industry for 30 plus years in some capacity of a leadership role or executive. And a lot of it looked like conflict resolution, team management, and honestly, a bit of this order follower, master, uh, you know, it's funny, my brother and I were talking about this today, where it feels like now the youth are so they're afraid, and they're not doing the things like when we were kids, 10, 11, 12, we were doing like working our butts off and doing so many things that you would never imagine, like kids these days, even 16, 17, 18-year-olds can't do. There's just they're too afraid, they're held back, they're like whether they whatever that I could say, oh, they're playing video games, or they're stuck in that zombie land, and so they're not asserting themselves, and they're not leading themselves. So where I'm now shifting, because I have a very strong intention to help leaders who are visionaries, who are innovators, who are here to make a positive difference in this world. And I know that is a big part of my calling. But I have also always assumed that everyone should be a leader, right? It's not just for those that are their leaders, but it's like each of us. And even in leading, it's not about dictating. But I've seen that where the executives are, I don't want to. It's like the master slave thing, but basically creating order followers of the staff. So then we have all these order followers, and then we have the executives, and then we have the hierarchies. And I remember Passio had said one time, okay, so we have, let's say, the general, right? You'd think that that's the highest up. Well, no, he's got someone else above him giving him orders. So as I process for my own livelihood and what I do, which is working with high performing leaders, and really helping them with their energy and being able to lead stronger, longer, right? I want to integrate this. I want to integrate this and educate leaders to know and understand fully about natural law, and to really understand the difference between order followers and those that are, and what that means. And so that there is more responsibility. I haven't distilled exactly how, except from starting with yourself first. That's the first thing, because that's what I'm practicing and my own best client right now. I'm definitely my own first best client working through all of this. So from your experience and you doing this, and clearly you're a leader in the One Great Work, what's your take on this? How do we navigate this? I know you're doing a little bit differently with your construction business, and your, there isn't some boss that you're answering to, but you are responsible for commitments that you make.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how, when we were on the road and we had a communication, and you were just so clear and respectful. It wasn't this weird gamey thing or like victim at all. And I just took a moment and respected how, wow, what would happen if we actually had a community, a country, a world where that kind of, when we say radical responsibility, you think, oh, it's radical but it was you taking radical responsibility in a very calm, peaceful way. And to me, that's the route to peace. That is the route to truth and well-being, and a wonderful world where each of us are taking radical responsibility and telling the radical truth and leading. And I mean, that brings me joy. I can feel that and see that. How do I get there? How do I bridge from where we are to that?
I love it. Great rift. Great rift. So I'm going to, the animist in me is always going to revert to nature being, the ultimate mentor. So we all have, and, the kind of the category of leadership. This is an energy. This is an active energy. So when I say look at nature, we're going to look at the Hermetic principles, the natural law principles of polarity and gender. So just as there is evolution and involution, there is active and passive, there is a pull and a give, right? There is giving and receiving. Leadership is the active. It's actually a masculine quality. It's an active, energetic component. We all have both in us as far as an energetic characteristic of the masculine and the feminine. So yes, in our life, we all need to lead to a certain capacity, and we all need to receive at a certain capacity as well. Now, in some people, there is more of an emphasis on one of those types of energies. So, I would say I do have an active leading type of energy, right? I'm very straightforward, I'm assertive, but I try to strike that balance in the feminine component too, of devotion, self-care, and receiving as well. Some people might have that extreme feminine energy where they are more behind the scenes of an organization, of a mission, or whatever that may be. And that is great. We need all of those types of people, the whole gambit in really any category of life, right, to be successful. For instance, I'll use just a business or an organization. There, of course, there are the leadership, the assertive types of individuals with those energy, but then there's also the behind the scenes, the marketing, publicity, even the manufacturing, whatever it may be. So there's different types of roles. And how does one know and come to understand where they lean or where there is an imbalance within themselves? So this is understanding energy and understanding oneself. Now, obviously, when it comes to a category like the One Great Work, we absolutely need more leadership. Actually, I'll correct myself. We need both. We need the active and the passive. When I say passive, I don't mean lesser than. I mean the behind the scenes. You know how much content creation and how much I could further my great work if I had somebody behind the scenes that could maybe do the graphics or promote or do some type of marketing, etc. Same with anyone else. Mark Passio, look at Alex Jones in InfoWars. He's got a staff of like 50 people, and yet he's the one on camera, right? I mean, there's a few people on camera, but you know what I mean, is that this is energy that we are talking about. So identifying and having that clear, accurate perception of where you are at in the here and now. You have to understand your 0 point before you can understand the direction you want to go and should go. So that is another part of the internal work, right? It's all about taking that internal inventory of where you're at. And then understanding the energy. What does that mean? What does it mean to have active energy or passive energy or leading energy or receiving energy, etc. And this whole category applies to everything in life, including it's more predominant in relationship polarity. It's very useful in that kind of dynamic with, a man and a woman in a relationship. So those are the important things, is that we need. Now, of course, the active and the leading energy is very much upfront and in your face. So it has an inspiring characteristic. People see someone that is active and comes out onto the scene or into the public, and that grabs attention. Yet the opposite polarity is the devoted, is the healing, is the self-care that goes behind there, is the grounding, is the supportive aspect behind that leadership or behind that organization, etc. So they really, to be successful, they go hand in hand, 100%. So
It's
I think
interesting. So you're using relationship polarity, and you're using the gender almost interchangeably, which I have thought that
yes,
they are very, very different, especially because I consider polarity like, I guess I probably have identified it as negative because of the extreme, right? Polarity, one's bad, good, right,
mm-mm.
wrong. That polarity, which the gender is not a polarity to me. It's the flow. It's the yin yang, not the polarity. So I don't look at polarity as the yin yang, which is very much what I practice in qigong,
That absolutely is
balancing
polarity.
it.
That
That
would be
is so interesting.
the symbol of polarity. So,
What?
oh,
So
absolutely.
I look at
Yeah,
it more as like,
polarity,
but they're not
oh,
the
go on.
same. They're not the same, right?
Oh, they
No.
are.
Whoa,
Masculine,
wait.
feminine, opposite
Oh,
polarity.
but out of the 7, why would they put something that's similar? So the 7, number one's mentalism, duality, polarity, right?
Yep, vibration, rhythm,
Vibration,
cause and
rhythm,
effect.
gender.
So check this out, right? The Hermetic principles, we list them as 7. The natural law principles, we list them at 7. They operate as 1. The yin yang symbol is a great,
Whoa.
yes.
How come I don't know that? Did I miss that somewhere? Did I not integrate that? Wait a second. They operate as 1? That's,
They,
how is that even possible? Especially when in the Kybalion talks about you, especially the polarity, because I was really stuck on that at the time when I read it. I was stuck on these polarities. They're talking about how you step out of it so you don't get hit by the swinging door, basically the swinging pendulum that's going to inevitably come back. You get exterior to it and you observe it, and that had nothing to do with mentalism or any of the others that he was talking about. Interesting. Okay.
So I'll clarify. And, the Kybalion is a great primer. It's like a beginner book, right? There are some things in there that are kind of inaccurate or misleading, or it takes a more adept, astute person that understands occultism to really hash out the truth there. But so yeah, there is no stepping out or not interacting with one of the natural law principles. That doesn't, they're immutable and binding to us all. When I say they operate as 1, I mean they are one system, meaning all 7 apply to everyone at the same time. So, for instance, this is why I love this image of the yin and yang, because that 100% Just that one image has all 7 principles in there. Think about it. Mentalism, it's the outer circle, the all encompassing, right? Then you have polarity or correspondence, which the yin and the yang, you can look at the circles, right? They're kind of on opposite spectrums. You can have the up and the down, universe and the individual. You have the polarity as well. The polarity kind of corresponds to that vibration because the yin and yang spins. The yin and the yang are in this dance. Rhythm as well. What is the frequency of that spin, of that motion? You have the cause and the effect. Obviously, one of them can be the cause, the other can be the effect. And then rhythm. I already said rhythm. And then gender, right? The yin and the yang. So when it comes to polarity and gender, they are very much unique, and they should be studied together. Really, all of the principles need to be studied for that simple fact that I said it operates as one system.
Okay, where's the source? What should we be studying then on this?
Well, I do always recommend the Kybalion as a primer, as a beginner, a beginner
Yeah.
reference. And then
Okay.
at 100% you must dive into the realm of occultism. So primarily the Hermetic tradition, although every tradition talks about the natural law principles, talks about natural law. So yeah, for sure. And then, but people on the One Great Work Network, this is what is so fantastic and beautiful of our ability to synthesize information, right? So it's like I can explain the natural law principles in a modern context. I can also simplify it if I want. I can expand, and someone can take that in without reading, a doctrine from the 1800s or even older, where it is written in the language of that time or the context of that time. So it might be a little more hard to understand. Of course, Mark Passio is fantastic. He is, in my opinion, the ultimate aggregator of occult knowledge, 100%. But there are many people that do that today with that type of information. So,
Okay. Yeah, and I just saw how my expectations were coming in there of like, okay, I needed to read the right book and study it so I can understand this. I thought I had it with the Kybalion. And as you said that, all 7 of them, I never got that. But as you described that, that's beautiful. I mean, it's really beautiful.
I'm going
I've
to do
used
it.
the
Yeah,
yin.
I've started a presentation on this topic right there.
Awesome.
So I need to
Awesome.
wrap that up because it is very important. Understanding the natural law principles and, continuing that or deepening that understanding, you can
Mhm.
see it within your own life. So, I mean, for instance, like polarity, it is when someone talks about it or shows it on an image, they do have positive and negative, anode, cathode. If you want to get into like electronics, that is there for a reason when you're talking about the dielectric. But that doesn't mean it's negative as in harmful, positive as in moral or good. It depends on the context and the condition we are talking about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is just an attribute of energy. That's what
Mhm.
it is. The positive and
So
negative.
so good. So good. Such a great conversation with you. We're going to finish our work with Will on Saturday. We're going to spend a
Excellent.
little bit of time, bring your questions. I have my list of questions. I'm going to try and wrap up and have something that is uh, tangible. That's the one thing is I'm really looking for tangible actions, which I think you've given me a really good place to start with those 7 as their one, and bringing that back in. And now I start to see all of these pieces coming back in. Ultimately, that we are here. Uh, what are we doing? What's the comfort? And the reason I said burn, we've got to burn those, and it was because of the posts that you have been posting recently. And I highly recommend all of you make sure you're following Will. He's always on point, and it's incredible how much one little piece can just shift if you do the work like he's talking about, which is the reflection, and it is on a daily basis, and sometimes it's a moment to moment basis, right? But if this conversation has sparked something in you, please don't let it fade. I think that that's really important. Will, you said something earlier. You said you were mentoring or working with someone, and then they kind of disappeared, and that's I feel pain, I feel sadness because of that, because I understand those moments where I wanted to rabbit or run from the suffering that I was inevitably giving myself because I wasn't taking the time to process. That's when I found Will. That's when I went and watched one of his episodes on the One Great Work that actually was the catalyst for me having such a significant breakthrough and understanding at such a deeper level. And as I say this, I can see where I'm at, which is, I'm not going to say, oh, I'm at a lower level, but I am definitely seeing now that something so much bigger has opened up for me, where I thought, oh, I've almost made it. Look at me. I've almost made it to the top. I can put my flag in. Woohoo. And now it's just so much more has opened up in my awareness and my understanding and my willingness to learn and to grow and to ask the question, the hard question, where am I still choosing comfort over truth? Where am I still outsourcing my power? And I think that that's a really important question for us to ask ourselves. Ask yourself these questions, right? Because leadership starts from within, and this world needs more of us who are willing to burn the lies inside first. So if you are ready to take the next step in aligning your life, your leadership, and your impact with truth, I highly recommend jumping on a call, leadership solution call with me. I offer them. I open up my calendar on a weekly basis. If there's one available for this week, jump on it. You can go to leadstrongerlonger.com. Uh, my my intention is to have these open discussions. And I see folks in the chat. I'd love Russ, you to reach out with me. Scott, I've interviewed you before. It's amazing. We should probably do another one. Derek, it might be fun to connect with you. And there was a Nemo, I think he had to go to bed. But these are the kinds of conversations we need to be having. I want to explore more of this. And I would say the last thing, don't forget to share these episodes. Don't forget to share Will's website. He has so much content, but maybe take your favorite and share that link of his, of whichever one is really speaks to you. Scott has incredible work that he has done on the One Great Work, and then even on the websites that he's done, we have a common thread with Scientology, and the work that he has done there is incredible. So if you have any stuck energy with regards to maybe being in Scientology in the past, and it's been maybe has gotten you stuck in a place, Scott has incredible tools to support you through that. And I will leave it at that and turn it over to Will as we close out, and hope to see you all on Saturday. I believe we've set it for 12 Pacific Standard Time for your time. Is that correct? 12 o'clock.
That's
Awesome.
correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
so that's this Saturday. We will be live. I love your comments in the chat. It helps so much. And let's just keep this going. And Will, over to you.
Thanks, Stefana. Fantastic conversation, like we always do. I always love the energy that we generate. And thanks everyone for being in the chat and the comments. And I'm looking forward to this Saturday for another round. Take care, everyone.